Today's video is going to be thematically aimed at anyone who's sort of struggling to, wow, just got a message. I'll attend to that later. Anyone who's sort of struggling to break through any barriers and who are sort of feeling a bit stuck and a bit like bent out of shape, I think is the ideal word for this, because Alan Watts has a beautiful quote. He says, have you ever seen a misshapen cloud or a poorly designed wave? And the answer is no, because no matter what weird, obscure shape a cloud takes, it's perfect and beautiful and complete. And no matter what shape your life is taking right now, no matter where you feel like you're wrong or where you feel like off at the moment, just know that you're not. You're perfect, you're infinite, and you're wonderful, and everything is absolutely as it should be. If you're struggling with this, with whatever's going on right now, I recommend taking some deep breaths, looking at your life with perspective. Objectivity is where you're going to find the best amount of wisdom, because think about something that really bothered you a year ago, something that was like, that you felt was like, life changing and really like affected the way that I'm just changing position. The way, I like some of the things that bugged me last year. Now, I was like, oh, what was even the need to be annoyed about that? There's none. Like even last week, things that annoyed you last week and they just seem like the biggest problem ever. Look at them with objectivity. So I'm going to tell you a story about what happened to me last week. So last Monday, I was stranded in Ethiopia for a day and a half. That old chestnut, eh? Everyone's old classic stranded in Ethiopia story. Basically, I was in Cape Town. I was on like sort of like an extended business holiday type thing, and I was I actually cut it short because I was so excited to get back to England, sunny old England. It's actually quite nice weather today. But so I came back and I was on the flight. So I had a stopover in Ethiopia, and I'd already done one stopover in Ethiopia going out there. And it's not the best airport. It's not somewhere where you want to get stuck. There was actually a point where I looked at the screens. And it's like 3 screens, and these are the screens that tell you what time you're getting your flight, and each of them at a different time. And like, you can get that in Heathrow. Crikey, how am I supposed to know where I'm going? So yeah, this airport didn't even have the synchronized times on the TVs. So that was my initial experience of Addis Ababa. Secondly, so I was on my plane and straight away I just got dodgy vibes from the guy next to me, and I'm blaming him because of convenience, but I don't know if it was him or not. Actually taking all full blame away because it's like my own problem. So I was a bit afraid of him, and so I specifically know my passport went missing because I had it on the plane. I was afraid of the guy next to me, so I put it in my pocket, and when I went to use the bathroom, because I thought there was a good possibility that he was gonna nick my passport. And so anyway, came back from the bathroom, and it was an evening flight. I put my passport in my bag, and I went to sleep. And I woke up, and luckily for me, I was listening to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I got to this point where it was like, you have to take full responsibility for the consequences that happen in your life. So no matter what is going on, you've manifested that somehow. You created that situation, like you've brought it upon yourself. Not necessarily that there's blame or like dishing out fault, but firstly, life can't just be an uphill, like a smooth incline. You can't always be like hitting the nail on the hoop, whatever that proverb is. You've got to encounter certain misfortunes, and the thing is, once you encounter those misfortunes, the best way to tackle them, when you encounter what you would perceive as a negative consequence, because nothing's really negative or positive, it's just what the labels we assign to them that accommodate for our constructed sense of self. So when you perceive a negative situation, the only effective way to tackle that and to make it a success, and turning off a failure into a success, is to straight away acknowledge it, learn from it, and I forget the next lesson. But basically, yeah, like if you want to overcome a circumstance, take responsibility from it, acknowledge that it is happening. Don't hide, don't bury your head in the sand, don't pretend or fight it, don't resist it, just accept that that is the situation, because the quicker you accept something, the quicker you can move through it, move on, get over it. And I was literally just listening to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and this thing about taking responsibility for my circumstances and how to tackle a bad situation when it comes at you. And perhaps this is why it happened, because I was supposed to learn how to tackle this situation, because literally we landed, so I took the headphones out, I was listening on Audible, and I just knew my passport was gone. I didn't even look for it. I just knew it was gone. And I think it was the guy next to me, old dodgy McGee over here. I'm pretty sure he took it. But it's not fair to blame, and it's not fair to insinuate or suspect anyone. So I won't do that. It's just from locational geographic convenience. He was sat next to me. I suspect that it was taken from my bag. And, the plane cleared, and then everyone was helping me look for my passport. I was like, oh no, of course this would happen to me. Of course this would happen to me. Of all places, Ethiopia. So I decided, I had Steve, maybe, I don't think it was his voice, but the words of Stephen Covey in my ear saying, right, okay, just take responsibility and just get on with it. So I was like, cool, I've had my passport stolen in Ethiopia. I'm just gonna roll with it. Let's see what this brings. And I have to tell you, it was a much better experience. This whole duration, the transpiring of events that happened over the next day and a half went a lot smoother because of the simple mindset that I had at that time. So got off the plane, and they said, you're not getting on your connecting flight. I was like, oh, cool, that's great, that's really cool, that's just what I want to hear. Oh, okay. So then I say, all right, so what's going to happen? Have to wait till the embassy opens, which is 8 a.m. And then they said, and then hopefully you can get on tomorrow night's flight. This is 10 p.m. My flight was going to be 3-4 hours time at 2 a.m. And then at 2 a.m. I was going to have to wait 24 hours minimum before I could get on the next flight. And that's only assuming I'd got there were travel documents sorted out and they didn't think I was some sort of terrorist. And that's also assuming there was space on the next flight. Otherwise, I would have to wait they only have one flight to England a day from Addis Ababa at 2 a.m. So then I'd have to wait another 24 hours for the next flight, assuming there was space on that flight. I don't believe that could go on for infinity. So I was potentially stuck in this airport for a very long time. And it's really not a fun airport to be stuck in. So then I say, okay, right, I guess the first thing we need to sort out is accommodation. No, you're not leaving the airport, Miss Southwell. You don't have a passport. You can't get through security. I was like, oh, fabulous. Okay, so, is there a nice sort of lounge area I can sit in? Like, no, you don't have a first class ticket. I was like, well, right, I've just had my passport stolen. And this is when I started getting a bit indignant and a bit frustrated. I was like, hang on a minute, I just had my passport stolen on your flight. Lots of blaming, lots of self-righteousness here. I've just had my passport stolen on your flight, your fault. You should be putting me up in accommodation or making my journey more comfortable. But no, I had to then wind it back in. I had to think about Steve Covey and think, no, I'm in this. I've done something to create this situation, so zen. And you know what's funny as well is that I was there, in total, I think I was there for about 28 hours. My back was in ribbons, literally. It was a very, my shoulders still hurts from it. I slept across these benches, and I will actually upload. There was a cat roaming the departure lounges, which was interesting. What I found particularly interesting was that there was also a thriving pigeon community. Also, and big bugs. But how were the pigeons how are they thriving? How are they doing so well when there was also a cat roaming around? And I got to the bottom of this when I found the cat just helping itself at the buffet. Yeah, I've actually got a picture. This cat just jumped up and got something from the buffet. No one batted an eyelid. No one else saw this. I was like, okay, I guess I'll have a croissant instead of dinner. I won't be getting any lasagna from that dinner tray. So these were things I was able to find comedy and humour in this situation. For instance, this prowling cat who was jumping in the food, and these half-maimed pigeons walking around, and bugs so big that I could make out the mechanics of their knees. So it was a very interesting experience for me, and one I was not hugely comfortable with the whole way through. I like to say that I was keeping my cool, but it was also stressful. But I think the most important lesson, and I had to take from this, was I think that was supposed to happen then and there, because my response to it was I was just going to flow with it. I was being a cloud, okay? I was like, this is so bent out of shape. This is so mental. And it's so funny because my family were going absolutely bonkers back home. Like, my dad was like ringing everyone. I think he thought he was going to send in the chopper to come rescue me, but that was never going to happen. I was like, Dad, I'm stuck here for the duration. I'm just going to sit and chill out. And everyone's like ringing me, like saying, I'm on the phone to this person. I was like, no one's going to do anything. Okay, I'm stuck. And, and the lesson I took from that was just to chill out. I was like, okay, I'm not going to lie. There were a couple of times where I wanted to sort of look grumpy with ineffective staff who weren't like, who I felt could have helped me that little bit more, but didn't. And it was funny, like, the ambassador. Bear in mind, I've been waiting 14 hours for her in a departure lounge, and she was getting really impatient with me because I didn't have 2 passport-size photos. I'm sorry, I don't have 2 passport-size photos in Ethiopia. I didn't expect this to be a situation that might transpire. And then she was angry with me because I didn't have the Ethiopian currency to pay for a passport. Absolute nightmare. And but I took it all with a pinch of salt. And it was a reasonably smooth transition. And I think, and at the end, when I finally got on my flight to LHR, London Heathrow, I got 3 seats. So I was able to lie down. I couldn't sleep, obviously, because I was so wired about my whole experience about what happened the day before, and I was reflecting a lot on what that meant. But basically, for those of you who feel like you're a weird shape cloud, just know that you're perfect, you're infinite, and just ride with it. Accept it, accept what's going on, acknowledge, move with it, and then there's beautiful blue skies to be had at the horizon. I promise you, there's always blue skies. I once knew this. I use this meditation app called Headspace, and he's got this beautiful analogy. When you look at the sky, you can see all these clouds. Like, there could be thunder, there could be lightning, and if you ever get in a plane, you go through the clouds, and no matter what the weather conditions, when you get above the clouds, it's blue sky. It's blue skies and sun. It's always, always, always above this cloud, there's a blue sky. So just know that the same with how you think. No matter what weather patterns are going on in your mind at the moment, no matter what you're struggling with, there is a blue sky. You just need to allow them to go away, and you can just rise above it and find your blue sky. So that is my advice for today. If you are feeling bent out of shape, just think you're not trapped in Ethiopia, and you're perfect, and everything is as it should be.